Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sonia. Please excuse the background. I don't have an office right now since we have family staying with us. And also I hope you can hear me okay because the four-legged family members are a bit rowdy and I don't have a mic, so we'll make it work. Today I'm going to share with you the makeover I did to the front porch of the house, the entrance, the exterior part of it. This is such an important area, I think, because it's the first thing people see when they walk up. So it's like the first impression they get. And so it was due for a little bit of a facelift. I tried to save money everywhere I could by reusing things that I already had, and you'll see that along the video, and I will leave all the items linked in the description box, so check there if you would like some more details. I would really appreciate it if you give the video a like. It does help my channel, and also don't forget to subscribe because I have future videos coming up on projects that we're gonna do around the house. There's still a lot to do. So with that, let's get started. This is what the front entrance looked like when we first moved in. A couple months later, we painted the stucco and then the doors black. And this is what we are starting with today. This is the before. We are going to replace the wooden door with this new one. It is too big, so we do have to cut it down to size. Okay, so since the table is too big, too long, we're gonna have to cut it. There's two options to cut the wood. You can use a table saw like this. That's a little bit difficult because you need two people since it doesn't have the extension part of it. One person needs to hold it, and it's a little bit more complicated. The other option is to use a level. So you measure off where you're gonna cut, use the level, and then use the hand saw, and then do it that way. So I think that's the way we're gonna do it today. We're using a pencil to mark off the measurements of the frame and then draw a straight line so we know where to guide the saw to cut it. Then we're going to clamp down one side of it really firmly first, measure again, and then clamp down the second side, and then make sure it's exactly to the measurement because this is what's going to help us keep the blade straight. Putting this piece of masking tape on the edge helps so that the wood doesn't splinter as you're cutting it. Using the handsaw, we started cutting off this piece of wood and everything was going great until about this point where it started getting stuck and then it blew the fuse of the extension cord. So we were like, what's going on? And then it started going crooked. So when we inspected it, we saw that the blade was bent. And that's why it wasn't cutting straight. So we had a bit of a mishap with the blade, and so I had to come get a new one. Now with the new blade in place, we were able to finish that cut, but inevitably it did make it a bit crooked and there was these rough edges. So I leave this in so you guys can see our mistakes and maybe you can learn from them. Check your blade first because this is an old blade that we had been using when we were cutting down like some of the trees in the backyard, and we really should have replaced it before doing this cut. But anyway, maybe you can learn from my mistakes and you can avoid them or know how to fix them. And so what we're going to do is sand it down and then add this Bondo to it to kind of try and even it out as much as we can. This Bondo does need some time to dry and then we can sand it down again. We also needed to cut the width of the door so that it would fit in the door frame. This was like less than half an inch. I think it was like a 1/4 inch that we needed to cut off. So we're going to measure it off, make sure the lines are super straight. And then it was my turn to use the handsaw. I have used it before, like I said, in the backyard, cutting trees or like random pieces of wood that we were trashing, just cutting it down to size. But nothing like this so precise that I've done before. So I made sure to go super slow, trying to be very careful to cut the straightest line possible, and it helps to have it clamped down like you saw before, and that way it guides the blade. Now we're going to measure off where we need to make the space for the hinges. So we're going to mark those off and then draw the shape of the hinge and use this multi-tool to make the cut. I think the more traditional way is to use a chisel and a hammer. That's what we were seeing on a lot of the YouTube videos. But we have this power tool, so might as well put it to use. I think it makes it a little bit easier so you don't have to use too much muscle. The machine does it for you. So we're going to cut out the shape to make sure that the hinge can fit in here. This is the second hole that we need for the hinge, and we're trying a blade that's a little bit larger and see if we like that better. This is the third and last area for the hinge, and we're using the smallest blade. Okay, so to do the opening for the hinge, we used the multi-tool and we tried 3 different blades. First we did this square one, which was okay, and then we thought this bigger one would be better, but it wasn't. It was actually the worst one. So bigger is not always better. And then the winner was this small one. It's the one that we were able to have more control with and work with easier. Next, we're going to stain the door. I already have a video up on the channel going into great detail about how we did this, but a basic rundown is to sand it down first. You stain it, let it dry, and then put the clear coat top finish on top and also let that dry. It's very easy. I'm going to leave that video linked in the cards for you to watch. It's time to remove the old door. This is a very old door, the one that came with the house. It has many layers of paint over the hinge, so I'm not able to get in there with the screwdriver to remove it. First, I've got to get rid of those layers of paint. I'm going to just use a screwdriver and a hammer to kind of scrape that off. That way I can remove the screws and remove the door. I like how it sounds. I will take a bow tonight and then we'll celebrate. Let it all pour out. Spend it all, don't count. You like it. To install the new hinges, first we're going to use a drill bit to drill in holes to the new door. This will help prevent the screws from like cracking or breaking the wood since there's no previous hole there. So we're going to do that first. The door hinge has 2 sides, you could say, like one that goes up, one that goes down. This down piece is where you can kind of see the pin, and then the top piece is where you have the cap of the pin. So the cap is the one that goes up always. The hinges are on the door, but now to mount the hinge to the frame, you can put little cardboard pieces down on the bottom of the door. That's going to help it slide in and out easier, and also going to help you make sure that it's level so it has enough height. We put the level at the top of the door and then the cardboard pieces at the bottom to make sure that it's straight, and then we screwed it into the frame. Now this was our first attempt at installing the door. We did have to make some adjustments. For example, these sealer pieces, door sealers I think they're called, had to be adjusted and moved a little bit to accommodate for the new door. Another adjustment we had to make was to the length of the door. Since we had that mishap with the handsaw with the blade going crooked, we had to cut off just a tiny more off of the end. We put down this masking tape to protect the door since it was already stained. We didn't want it to get scratched, and so we measured it off, and it was just the tiniest bit that we needed to make it even. We stained and sealed that portion, not that you're going to be able to see it because it's at the bottom, but because it's an exterior door, we want to make sure the wood is protected from the rain. Alright, so this is attempt number 2 to install the door. We have those pieces of cardboard at the bottom to make sure it slides in and out, and then we put the level on top again. We have to make some adjustments, and this is like a trial and error kind of deal, especially because this frame we found isn't perfectly straight. Like we could tell it's had some other modifications made before, and so we're just playing with it, trying to get it exactly right, and then finally screwing in the hinges to the door frame. I said trial and error, right? So even the second time, the door sealers were still out of place, so we had to adjust those again. Now we're going to install the handle. I bought it in black to match the door and the rest of the decor. I've seen most doors that come with the hole pre-made, but since this is an artisan door that we bought in Mexico, we have to make the hole ourselves. And to make that easier, we bought this kit. It's a wood door lock installation kit that comes with this little plate that you screw into the door. Make sure it lines up with the latch first. You use a drill bit to drill a hole, and then you put in the screws to make sure it's tight. And then it also comes with the hole saw that you need. You attach it to your drill, and this helps to make sure you have the right angle and the right size to make the hole. Because this is a solid wood door, we had to come around the other side to drill that way too. It's, real thick. I imagine that for like interior doors that are hollow, you could just drill straight through on one side. The kit didn't come with a hole saw to drill in for the latch, so we're just using this one that my husband already had. So you drill in this smaller hole for the latch. We're done drilling, we remove the plate and test the latch, make sure it fits, and then we're gonna draw the shape around it because we'll need to do the similar thing like with the hinges and make room for it. We tried using the multi-tool again here, thinking it'd be easier, but I don't know if it's because it's such a small space or because the door wasn't like super sturdy yet, but it was harder, so we ended up using the chisel and hammer. So we're just going to remove some of the wood, making room for the latch. Now we secure the latch with 2 screws, and we go in to put the doorknobs, but they did not fit. So here is another mistake we made, which again, I'm keeping it in the video so you can learn from my mistakes. So we're going to remove the latch here and try drilling the hole again. I think he went in like at an angle that wasn't super straight the first time. So no problem, this is fixable. You just drill the hole again, put in the latch again, and then now the doorknobs do fit. We put a screw on each side to secure it. The plate for the latch had to be adjusted as well. This was super easy. Just remove the screws, move the plate, and then put the screws back in. Now we're going to paint the screen door or retouch the paint, which I really debated about removing the door just entirely so that we can display the beautiful wooden door. The screen door does block it, and so I thought about removing it, but we really do use the screen door a lot. I like to have all the windows open, the wooden door open with the screen closed to let all the fresh air in. And then also when we leave the puppy alone, we leave the wooden door open but the screen door closed, and so he just sits there and looks outside, dog TV, and so we do use it a lot, and so we decided to keep it. We're just going to retouch the paint. If you remember, the first picture that I showed in the video was this original door when we moved in was white and rusted. We already had painted it, but now it was in need of a retouch, so we're just using the same black paint from before. We're using a brush for all the detail work and the edges, and then a small roll for the rest of the door. We're also going to paint the door frames. The exterior metal one is for the screen. That's just a retouch, and then we're changing the color of the interior door frame from white to black so it can blend in with the door. Spend it all, don't count, you like it. Next project is this bench. We're going to stain it the same color as the door so that it matches. I already have a video up on the channel where I go into great detail about how I did this, so I'm going to link that in the cards for you to watch. But basically, it's the same process as the door. You clean it, sand it, stain it, and then put the clear coat top finish on it. So it looks way nicer now. Moving on to the flooring, originally I thought about installing vinyl plank flooring on here. Those are the samples that you're seeing. Those were just leftovers from when we remodeled the kitchen and the bathroom, but I wasn't sure that they would last or, be able to put up with the weather out here, and so I thought, let's just paint it. Can you tell I love painting everything? So what you're going to need is the primer, this brush for the edges, some small rolls, a handle for the rolls, and then also this concrete stain. I'll tell you why I chose this one. You'll need a pan to put the paint in as well. Because this is tile and because it's an exterior space, I think it's important to prime it first, just to make sure the paint is going to stick to it too, and to make sure it covers up all the dinginess. I swear I have tried to scrub this floor so many times, but it does not come clean, and so we're just going to cover it up with some paint. Here's another learn from me moment. I'm gonna leave the audio for the next clip in because I think you'll be able to learn as I did from the tips that my husband was giving me as I was applying the primer. So I'm gonna put the caption translations in case you don't understand Spanish.
Te recomendaría que ensuciaras el piso con tus zapatos sucios. ¿Ya ves? Quítatelos. ¿Crees que me lo hice nomás por cool o qué?
You don't have an extension?
You don't need one. Llevarte un corte parejito. Que no se te acabe la tinta.
Right rule for this?
Yep.
I'm not doing this right.
No. Piensa que es una pared, bro.
Pero es que no alcanzo a ver desde allá hasta acá, ¿no?
Empieza a la mitad. Y ya que empiece la mitad para abajo, le das otra al final parejo, así, una al final, así. Pero puedes empezar la mitad de arriba para abajo hasta la mitad nada más. Ya no le quites tanto. Vuelve a echar más. Y empieza de arriba. Y desapárala como la haces en una pared nada más.
So after taking his tips, the rest of it was a breeze and a bit easier. I should have gotten that extension pole. I think it would have been easier because of my short arms. But yeah, I finished putting the rest of the primer on, and that would need to dry overnight before we could apply the color coat. The sun is rising, we're living it up, yeah. Won't take it from me, not giving it up, yeah. No time for wasting, we're tearing it up, whoa, oh, I like it. The sun is rising, we're living it up, yeah. Won't take it from me, not giving it up, yeah. No time for wasting, we're tearing it up, whoa, I like it. The sun is rising, we're living it up, yeah. Don't take it from me, not giving it up, yeah. No time for wasting, we're tearing it up, whoa, I like it. Now we're going to apply the color top coat to the tile. So the primer is fully dry. We're going to start by cutting all the edges first and then rolling on the paint just like we did with the primer. But now I have the technique down. And I chose this solid color concrete stain. It says on the label it's ideal for concrete porches, patios, and walkways. So I figured it would be great for this area. And it does say that it's heat and weather resistant, so that's a plus. We're going to use just a tiny bit of it here because it's a small space, but I plan to use the leftover on the back patio. That concrete is pretty messy as well, so I'm going to use it up there. And I chose a light gray color to go with the rest of the color scheme. Onto the decor, the plants. We're going to remove these old ones first. That first one was dead anyway, and these were just left over from when we moved in. They were already here. So I'm going to replace them with these new pots. My mother-in-law bought these for me from Tijuana, so she brought them over, and I'm going to paint them. So the first step is to clean it, and then we're going to use a black spray paint. I didn't want to spend any money on this, and so we're just using some random spray paint that we found in the garage. I think one of them is actually made for wheels, but that's okay. It worked out well here. We do one coat of it first. You don't have to cover the entire thing on the first round. You let it dry about 20-30 minutes, and then we did the second coat, and that's the one that's going to fully cover everything. Originally, I was going to leave the planters white because I do love white, but then when I saw them next to the black bench, I thought I'll just paint them. And then I asked on my Instagram for suggestions on how to do that or what colors to use, and someone suggested black and gold. So that's what I'm going to do. Thank you for the suggestion. So now that they're painted and dried black, I'm going to tape off 4 inches from the top. That's going to be the gold part. And I do suggest that you actually measure this out. At first, I tried just to freehand it and eyeball it, but it was crooked. So then I went in and I used a tape measure. It doesn't take too much longer to do this, and then you'll make sure you have straight lines. So I'm taping around it, and then I'm adding this plastic to protect the bottom half because I want the bottom half to stay black. The top 4 inches will be gold. I'm using, again, leftover spray paint. I think this was leftover from when we painted the fridge. If you've seen my kitchen remodel video, you'll see the spray paint there. So same deal, one coat, let it dry, and then a second coat.
Selling out every show, play it loud and make the people get low, and I like it.
Before I add the plants, I'm gonna fill the pot with potting soil 1/3 of the way full. And then these plants were already here when we moved in. I'm just taking it out of this plastic pot, which I'm not being too careful with because it's plastic anyway. And so I'm gonna remove it, and then I'm also gonna clean it up. There was like random other plants in there and a bunch of dry leaves. I really haven't been taking care of these in the backyard, so it needed a lot of cleanup. And then I'm also going to remove the excess dirt around the roots and on any of the leaves that need to be removed so that I can make sure it fits inside the pot. Once it's in, then I'll fill in the rest of it with more potting soil.
I like how it sounds.
Same deal for the second planter, filling it up with soil first, removing the plant from its pot, and again cleaning it up. This took longer than I expected actually, and they were heavier than I thought. So I'm going to take my time to make sure it looks nice, that it fits in the planter, and that they kind of evenly match. It was hard to get them exactly. One turned out a little bit bigger than the other, but that's okay.
Here we go. We used to writing almost every day, and now we used to writing and getting paid, and I like it. I like how it sounds. I will take a bow tonight, and then we'll celebrate. Let it all pour out, spend it all, don't count.
I love how the planters look next to the bench. They complement each other on the colors, really nice, and then the pop of green. So love how it turned out.
like it.
Okay, so we're doing the front entrance project, and I need to choose a plant to go on the number sign. And I'm in the backyard. I'm gonna just give you a quick update. If you've seen my video of how we've been remodeling the backyard, you'll see it's looking a lot better. And there's a bunch of plants here, and I'm gonna choose one to put in the front.
Un rosal aquí, bro, pero este no cabe ahí.
Rosal?
Yeah.
If it's a baby one. Put roses.
What about this one? Estaba muriendo nomás porque no se le echa agua, pero está chiquita.
I like that one. And that way you won't have to water it a lot.
A lot.
Or what about that one in the back?
Oh, that's nice too, pero crece
Sácala.
grande, mira.
No crece grande if the pot is small.
Think so? It's in a coconut.
Maybe it is too big. It's gonna cover the numbers. What else? What else?
Allá enfrente debe haber cosas también.
Okay, that's one option.
Pero no es este muy grande.
That's cute. I like those. Hay que poner esas. So again, trying to save money here on my budget projects, I just use what I have. So we found this cute little plant, and that's the one that I'm gonna put on the door sign. I mean, number sign. We're almost done. The last thing is to remove this light fixture. Nobody likes a boob light. I think that's what these are called. So I bought a new one from Amazon, going with the color scheme again. It's black on the outside with gold on the inside and has LED light. So it's definitely an upgrade. To remove the old fixture, the cover comes off just by twisting it off, and then you unscrew the plate. It'll come loose from the ceiling, and the wires, the electrical wires, are like in that little hole. So I pulled out the black ones first, removed the electrical tape, and then I removed the cap that covers it, separated those out. Then I put a cap on the live wire. I think that's what it's called. I'm not so sure about the terminology. My husband was talking me through this whole thing. And then I went to find the white wires. I pulled those out, removed the electrical tape. But then he started freaking me out because he's like, don't touch this, don't touch that. So I'm like, just you do it. So he removed the cap, then covered the live wire and removed the entire plate. Then to put in the new fixture, use that same little wire as a hook first, and then you screw it on there. So that's what's going to hold it up temporarily while you connect the electrical wires, which again I tried to do. He was trying to show. Okay, how do I do this?
Así, tienes que ponerlos juntos.
O así.
Ah, es que no lo toques. Los dos tienen que estar paraditos.
Así o así.
Parados.
No entiendo.
Estás acercando mucho tu mano al cable pelado.
You do it. But I'm like, why don't you just show me, and then I'll do it next time. So apparently you connect the live wire with the light fixture wire, and it goes white with white, but here they look white and brown, which was confusing me. So white with white, you cap those off, and then black with black, you cap them off. Pretty easy, right? Now we just secure the fixture to the ceiling using a couple of screws, and that is it. We are all done. Check out the before and after.
like it. The sun is rising, we're living it up, yeah. Take it from me.
Totally loved the way it turned out, and it was totally worth the $150 that I spent on the entire thing. Well, those $150 are what I spent on new products, new tools, or supplies that I needed, because like I said before, a lot of it was leftover supplies from other projects that I've done, and that the videos are up on the channel as well. So when I give you the totals at the end of my videos, it's just for you to get an idea of how much money you can save if you do work yourself, if you get creative, if you reuse what you already have. And so a lot of those totals in previous videos are actually less because, you know, I get leftovers and I get to reuse them. So $150 was all this time. It was definitely worth it. I love how it turned out. Again, if you want details on the exact products, I will leave all of those linked below. Feel free to leave me any questions or comments that you have. I love to read the comments and respond to you. And again, please, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss the future videos coming up. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.